It's time for Talkin Tauntauns, your Star Wars source at AIPTcomics.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns. I am Jim Lahane, and with me, like a Padawan, moving on to a master, ready to, I don't know where I'm going with
Where are
this.
you going, Jim?
Guy, Nicole
What's
Harview.
Hi, it's me. What's up? Didn't know where that was going, but
I
I
don't
liked
know.
it. I liked the enthusiasm.
Yes, I every week I pause and I try to come up with something on the moment, and it doesn't happen. And this time it came out in words and still didn't happen. So we're
It's like
getting
you got
closer.
halfway there. So next time you'll get it over the line.
We'll get over the line eventually. And with us, not JJ again. Still in the waiting game for JJ. We wish him all the luck. He's getting close to the wire. But we have Nick Nafpliotis joining us.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, good.
How are you doing, Nick?
I'm great. I'm enjoying Obi-Wan Kenobi just like y'all, so I'm excited to talk about it today.
It's been okay. It's a little rough there sometimes, you know. If you're Obi-Wan, having your face rubbed
tough.
through fire.
Yeah, that's never a good day. when that
He's having a
happens.
rough time. I'm enjoying it, but he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's having a bad day. Several bad days in a row. Just rough time to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, adoptive father to, small child. Has no idea what he's doing. Just an old crotchety man. Disgruntled old dad. That's what Obi-Wan is.
On Father's Day, you find a child, and apparently you're a father now.
That's my favorite. My favorite Star Wars trope is just like hesitant, disgruntled dad. Like the Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, the entire Bad Batch. That's it. That's
Vader.
what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Well, Vader's not a dad. He's a father. He's not a dad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the relationship's
I don't
not
know. Like
Not the same.
I can see him like playing catch. He had the uncomfortable discussions with Leia.
the same. I don't know about all that, but yeah, I just pictured from Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear and Emperor Zurg playing catch, because that's what that is. So thanks for that image in my brain.
Force pulling the ball in a curve.
Yeah.
Make the kid think that they're a better pitcher than they are.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Now,
geez.
it's been really interesting for me to watch. My wife has been watching Obi-Wan Kenobi with me. And everyone talks up their spouse, but I'm okay saying it. If you ever see pictures of my wife, like when I spammed our Discord with pictures, I married way out of my league. I know it. Part of the reason for that is my wife is a nerd like me. Now, here's the thing. She's more fantasy based. Like she can remember whole plot points from He-Man and She-Ra. I don't know. So she watches Star
There's
Wars.
plot points in He-Man?
I know. I'm blown away. She remembers whole story arcs. I'm like, what? I'm watching this and she watches Star Wars with me, and she watches like The Mandalorian in the way that I watch Star Trek with people when they show it to me. And I'm like, oh, that was fun. Yeah, that was good. I have no desire to dive into the franchise and become obsessed, but yeah, I'll recognize that was fun. It has been the opposite with Obi-Wan. In fact, usually she doesn't care if I watch something before her. I learned that the hard way. I watched an episode before her thinking that was okay. And she's like, you watched it without me? And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. She goes, well, we're supposed to watch this together. I'm like, it was Star Wars. I thought you'd be fine. I don't mind watching it again. She goes, well, you need to wait for me next time. I was like, oh God. She's been really into it. And it's been interesting. I asked her, I said, why do you think this is coming from someone who's a casual Star Wars fan? And she said she thinks it's because, like, for instance, when she watched The Mandalorian, she really liked Bo-Katan. She loved that character, thought that. But there were all these things about Bo-Katan's history and stuff like that she didn't know that I was filling her in. She feels like she's in that position now watching this. She really liked episode 3 as when it came out a long time ago. And like, for instance, one of her favorite things about this is Reva and the way Reva mirrors Anakin a lot with her impulsiveness and her anger and stuff driving her. And that's like it's something she really likes. Or she, seeing Order 66 in the temple from a different perspective. she's getting as a casual fan to pick up all these little Easter eggs and stuff. It's that Leonardo DiCaprio meme with like, I know, pointing at the screen stuff. She's having those moments. And plus she just loves the story. She feels a lot more connected to the story than I've ever seen her. And she is really, and usually when we watch Star Wars, I'll kind of see her playing on the iPad and stuff and looking up and playing. She is locked in the whole Obi-Wan episode. And it's been interesting watching that, and I think that's maybe a way a lot, because for us, people like us who are here Star Wars nerds, we're finding all these Rebels and Clone Wars references and stuff. But this movie is so heavily based on this series is so heavily based on a movie that everyone saw, that it connects a little better. I don't know if I'm making sense there, but my wife has really enjoyed it from that perspective.
It's accessible in a way that some other Star Wars stuff is not, I think. Which is great, but it's also just the best time in the world to be a prequel fan. Like, I said to Jim, I was gonna burst out into song. It's too early for that crap, man. But Vindicated by Dashboard Confessional, like, I am right, I swear I'm right, I swear I knew it all along. Like, that's me right now with this with this episode. Like, Jim and I have been calling stuff since like episode 1, and we were like, that's coming later, that's gonna come later, that's gonna happen later, that's gonna happen, and it all happened in episode 5, and I was just like, I love it when I'm right, it's just a good time to like this little baby era of Star Wars. To be a prequel fan and see this is, it's just a little extra special, just a little, I feel like seen, I feel seen in a way I haven't before, by the Disney Plus shows, especially the live action ones. Excuse me. But it's a good time. It's a good time to be me right now, y'all.
Yeah. All right. So I think with that, we have no news this week, so we'll actually get into the episode a little bit.
Let's get into it.
Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
Ben Kenobi, where is he?
Come on.
We start off the episode finding out the title of the episode, and you were right, Nicole. It was part 5.
Hey, love when I'm right. Love to be right. Listen, bold. Part 6 is coming next. Like,
whoa.
I know. I'm pushing it now.
Bit, yeah.
I'm pushing it now. I'm like, I've been right so many times that I'm like, let's just up the ante a little bit. Let's get weird. I'm gonna say.
Well,
part
they're
6.
gonna throw something off, and it'll be VI. So I think.
That's
like,
what I meant. The Roman numeral. Like,
but
think?
like it's gonna be a little. They're gonna like play it a little weird. Like instead of just calling it 6, it'll be the VI.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You know what? I can agree with that. Jesus, Murphy.
And we're gonna have a whole hour of this.
These are the jokes. These are the bits. Bits forever. Like, Lord, go on, Jim.
So we return Obi-Wan to Jabim after he escaped. I don't even remember where he was. That's right. He escaped with
Castle
Leia.
Inquisitorius or whatever the heck.
Yes, the Fortress Inquisitorius Castle.
There it is. Castle Inquisitorius. Go on.
That's a video game.
Castle Vader is what I was like. Vader. Go on, Jim. Jesus.
So we rescued Leia at the end of the last episode, but they're being tracked by Lola. Oh, Lola.
That made me sad.
I did laugh when Lola attacked Leia.
I will tell you what. I like that the name is Lola because of the Weird Al song Yoda, which is based off of the song Lola. So it's just like just circles, just synchronicities and circles, and it's all coming back around. And so I like Lola's name just because of that.
So we arrive on Jabim along with a lot of the other Path refugees. I assume that they would be, because they obviously the people running the Path are there, but I think it's mostly the refugees that are in with the people running the Path. But intermixed with this, we have something we called out, a Clone Wars, actually pre-Clone Wars flashback.
We could talk about that for 20 minutes. Just that. I got so much to say about that. I'm not going to talk for 20 minutes about it, but I could. The point is I could.
But we also have other flashbacks that we also called.
Yes, just calling
Of
flashbacks.
Reva's
Jim, we're
flashbacks.
smart.
Of which
Oh.
we said specifically we would find out about Reva's past. We knew that because the show is building up towards it. She keep mentioning it. We see that here. We see her flashback. We understand her plot points, various things that people were calling out on the internet. Like, that doesn't make sense. Why does she know Anakin's name? Whole plot point here. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. All explained here.
It's almost like they're telling a story.
Almost.
And it wasn't done yet. And it's still not done yet.
But I think we've hit the major hump where we're just
oh,
on the
God, we're in falling action.
Yeah, we're
We're
just
like right at the climax in falling action. We're there. We've gone. We're up here. We're gonna. Yes, go on.
I don't think we have anything left that is like that doesn't make sense in the
No.
previous episodes. Like, I think we're like in smooth sailing from here.
Well, and I will
Exactly.
say, I saw some people say that they weren't. I wrote an article on this. Yeah, I saw some people say they weren't sure still. Like, well, wait, but the Grand Inquisitor got stabbed. Like, okay, Darth Maul got cut in half. Vader got all three, 3 limbs cut off and stuff.
Four.
Dark side, yeah, or sorry, 4, yeah. I said, and plus, I mean, Rupert Friend. It's such a plot point that Rupert Friend, when he was being interviewed by Jimmy Kimmel, brought it up that his race, the Grand Inquisitor, they have 2 stomachs, and he was stabbed right there.
The Powens.
Yeah, as 2 stomachs. And I mean, he brought it up. He didn't have to be prompted. He goes, my race has 2 stomachs. So obviously this has been discussed. Now, there's the one thing in the episode, I'm like, there might be some people who are casual fans that might miss that. But I think for most of us, we were like, oh yeah, dark side, anger, 2 stomachs. He's good.
Yeah, it's that we were talking about this before, Jim and I, but it's just like Qui-Gon standing somewhere going like, oh, y'all surviving, like just getting stabbed by a lightsaber, and I'm out here dead. Like, we've got 2 people in this episode who just get stabbed. Reva's been stabbed twice from my reading of this episode. The Vader stabbed her little butt in the and she lived through that.
I wasn't sure.
I don't know if it's literal. I haven't decided yet if that
Because
was like
she
a
said
literal
she-
flashback.
Yeah,
or
because she
just
said
like
she
a fear
laid,
flashback.
She said she laid down and played dead with
Yeah.
the other kids and felt them
Right.
go cold.
Right.
And it was one of those. And then you see like when Vader stabs her in current
Yeah.
time, you see a similar situation when she's a kid. And you're
Right.
right. It's one of those like.
It's questionable.
Did she get stabbed as a kid?
Who
I
knows?
think that was more supposed to be like a symbolic kind of
Could
him
be.
hack. Yeah, I didn't feel like
Could
that was
be.
him getting her directly as a kid.
But she's lived through it once for sure. Here,
Well,
But she ain't dying
She's
yet.
she's
She's
not
not
dying, but
dying yet.
we're not through the lived stage yet.
Listen, she's making it longer than Qui-Gon did, so that's interesting. And then the Grand Inquisitor, and Qui-Gon's just like, really, y'all? Like, really? Fine. Okay, I guess that's all right. We could just act like this is normal. And he's just pissed in the corner. But yeah, I of course we knew he was coming back. Like, from the interviews, like you said, and from everything about it, people yelling that like this show is breaking canon. I'm like, watch the show, you stupid idiot. Just watch the show. It'll be fixed by the end of this. Just watch the show. People, this is gonna be my calling, like my catchphrase throughout all of this show, always. And by this show, I mean the podcast.
Watch the
Media
show.
literacy, like media literacy, basic media.
Now, to be fair,
literacy. But
it has been broken, but it's normally been to extended media. And we all knew they weren't going to break canon, but if they had broken canon, this would have been the first time that a show had been directly just that I can think of.
Right.
It would literally make no sense to take a
Correct.
character from another show and then kill that character when that show takes place after this show.
it's just a fallacy.
Literally,
You would
especially
never
since
do it.
they built everything on Rebels. Every
Right.
Star Wars TV show out there now is based on Rebels.
Correct.
Everyone.
It's like the Bible.
Yeah.
It's just they could break canon in other plays or contradict things that I could be like, all right, I don't love it, but I'll let it go. This would have been ridiculous. I mean, I love him, but bringing Darth Maul back is stupid.
Yeah.
I love it, but it's stupid. Am I like, this is the best? Yes, of course. But like, they weren't going to do something like that. It's just...
I actually never had a problem with them bringing Maul back in the Clone Wars because
I don't have a problem with it, but it's like, as a storyteller, as a writer, it's dumb.
Well, like,
it's dumb, but I like it.
At the time, like, it was in the middle of Legends, the Legends continuity. I'd read all the books and comics and everything, and the show itself really put a strain on continuity because you dropped an entire plot point of Anakin having a Padawan after you wrote 3 years of comics and books where Anakin does not have a Padawan, and you staged everything out to the day a lot of times between episode 2 and 3 for the Clone Wars. So it really put a stress on the continuity, but then they drop in Darth Maul. What's the one thing about Darth Maul that doesn't stress continuity? He was already dead. Bringing him back, literally not a problem because he's not in any other material, nor did they ever try to put him in any other material. So it's oh, you have literally a free character just to put wherever you want, and it works. And I'm like, good, let's do it.
Yeah, it's listen. Star Wars has a very interesting relationship with canon. The point is, there's a line that they won't cross, and that would have been it. And yeah, it was just like, it just felt good still to see, like, okay, there he is. Like, you know, and like, that actor wouldn't have been doing interviews about this show if he was in one episode and died. Like, it just isn't a thing that they'd be doing. So anyway, I was just pleased that this guy just, like, came through, just, like, basically swung open a curtain and was like, hey, bitch, like, you really thought, and just, like, took his little badge like the absolute ass
sneer.
he is.
That sneer, he goes, Grand Inquisitor. And
So
I was like,
good.
oh, jeez.
So good. I was like, where's Lucius Malfoy now? Like, damn. it was so good.
I haven't heard Rupert Friend. I don't think I've seen him in anything else. I don't know.
Pride and Prejudice is the only thing I've seen him in.
Okay,
That's it.
do you know his accent? Does he do
He's
a different?
English.
Does he do a different voice in this show though?
It's slightly different. Yeah, it's still an English accent,
love
but there's
the way
17
he talks.
English accents. So
I love the way he talks in this show. It's absolutely riveting. When he's given his whole speech at the beginning, that's all I could ever think about now about this show is his speech in the Wendy's.
So this is
Wait, what?
No, it's in the cantina or whatever, where he's just like going off about Jedi and how they hunt themselves, and it's just like, sir, this is a Wendy's.
It was a meme going around. I had seen it after Nicole mentioned it last time. So yes, but that's all I can think of. The Jedi Order is like an itch, and I'm like, I have an itch.
Yeah, it's you. No, he's definitely like doing his best Jason Isaacs impression, and it's not fantastic. It's fine, it's passable, but from my understanding of him, from my very limited contact with him, he has an English accent, but it's a different English accent. You know what I mean? Like, the English accent is very specific to regions, and I can't identify most of them. I know he's not from like Manchester or Liverpool, like that. Those I know, but it's a slightly different English accent. So yeah, he's doing an accent. It's like us doing like a, I don't know, Midwestern accent or something like that. You know what I mean?
It's a boot? No, that's
Canadian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just regional.
All right. So let's bring it back. We find a couple of our friends have come back, including Kumail Nanjiani, who I do really like his character.
He's so great.
I don't remember his name. They called him out a few times.
Is it Hodge? Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I misheard it when he said, but based on like the subtitles, it did look like Haja. I love him, and I love his character, and I think he's doing great with that, especially when he plays babysitter, and then completely fumbles the ball and drops the
Haja.
Yep.
Haja. Haja.
Aja. Okay, and then drops the communicator.
Very good. He's great in everything. Like, I've never had a complaint about that actor ever.
I don't think I've seen any complaints about him either.
He's great.
No,
Like,
yeah.
he's just universally liked, unless you're,
I've always liked to stand up, so
He's very funny. He's a very
Yeah.
funny guy. And a good actor, so that's always nice.
I still need to watch. I think he's in the
Eternals.
new Eternals. Yeah, I still haven't seen
Yeah,
that.
he's great in Eternals. I really liked Eternals. Different conversation. I saw it like 3 times in theaters.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Well,
I was that into it.
I'm behind on the Marvel movies, and we skipped a couple, and we just watched Shang-Chi last night.
Shang-Chi.
He literally has an entire conversation on how to pronounce his name, and I still
Yes,
can't
he
get it
does.
right.
Yeah, Shang-Chi. Great. I liked it. I like this phase of Marvel, but again, different
Conversation. Yes. But yeah, we are here. Lola sabotages everyone from getting away.
I gotta tell you, I love that when Leia discovers that Lola's like weird, she doesn't bat an eye. She's just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Grabs her out of the air and is like, a restraining bolt. And just, like, it's 2 seconds. Like, Leia doesn't hesitate. Leia's just, like, not scared at all of this just, like, hunk of metal coming at her with, like, red lights and stuff. She's like, what the hell is this?
When
And
she's
she just deals
literally
with it.
trapped in this tiny box
Yeah.
attached to the wall.
She
Well,
just deals with it. It's great. It's
I
so
love before
Leia.
that when they said what happened, she goes, "I'm gonna need a ladder," and just starts walking.
Mhm.
I love that part. Like, wait a
So
second,
good.
what? You know,
Like, this girl doesn't hesitate. And it's like, I've said it before on the show. I've said it many times. This little girl is so good. Like, she is
Yeah.
such a good actor. What is her name? She is so talented. She understands Leia so well. Vivian Lyra Blair is
Yeah.
her name. She is so good. And I just think, like, she deserves so much praise for being as young as she is and so skillful and having such a handle. It's also a testament to the directing and the writing, right? But she has such a mastery of the character of Leia. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant and lovely to see.
I think they did, like, the writing on this episode was really smart because this episode is entirely not about her. But
Right.
they gave her a storyline in this episode that was impactful, didn't push her off into the side corner, but still let her do something that resulted in the plot
Right.
moving forward.
Right. Yes, she had an effect on the episode even though it wasn't about her.
Yeah.
And that's so important to not sideline your main characters, you know? I feel like there's a couple times Obi-Wan has kind of just been like put over here for a second on this show, but like for a second, and then he's right back into it. So I appreciate that even when these characters are not the primary focus of a moment or a scene or whatever, they are still working in the background doing something that matters. And the fact that they didn't let Leia be an exception to that, even though she's like 10, is great.
you know, going back to the writing of the episode too, one thing I thought was that we kind of take for granted, I thought was sort of brilliant was, I mean, that whole intermittent flashback that as it paralleled events of the story with the lightsaber training was great. But you know, you think about it, and that line that Anakin said in episode 3, you know, like, Obi-Wan is holding me back. There's really never a support for that except for Anakin's anger. And this scene still, we know as rational people, Obi-Wan was holding him back, teaching him a good lesson, but you got that reinforced so well. You know, you really got to see Obi-Wan, you know, being not a harsh teacher, but being, you know, a very blunt, you know, this is why you're not going to succeed at what you're doing. This is why you're not, and Anakin getting frustrated with that. And we didn't necessarily get to see that in that sort of situation in any of the movies. I mean, if you think about it, there was never a moment where, you know, he he was like, no, you're not doing this well enough. Again, do this again. You know, it was more always kind of referenced. And we really got to see, I almost wish they could somehow go back and implant the scene, you know, at some point in the movies in our collective conscious watching. Because I think it just makes episode 2 and 3 that much better.
Well, speaking of that scene, since we're going there now, I'm going to bring it up now. Nicole
Let's
and
go.
I mentioned it before the episode. In A New Hope, Vader says to Obi-Wan, when last we met, you were the master and I was but the learner.
Or something like that.
Something like that. That is explained in this episode. Not outright, but through the context of the episode. When they are dueling. Also the placement of this is very important. It's immediately after Vader rips apart the ship, or the decoy ship, actually. He rips apart the decoy ship and the other ship gets away. Immediately after that, we get this part of the flashback where they are done with their duel. Obi-Wan is looking at Anakin. He says, "You're a great warrior, Anakin, but your need to prove yourself is your undoing." Mm-hmm. And he says, "Until you overcome it, a Padawan you will still be."
Right.
Meaning, you are still the learner at this time because you have not overcome your need to prove it. So that is where Vader is still the learner at this point in time. Mm-hmm. And so at some point he overcomes that after this. But that's where in A New Hope, when he says, "I was but the learner," he realizes that he is still the learner because he's the one seeing these visions, not Obi-Wan.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. It definitely is a not ham-fisted way to make it make sense, you know, which I appreciate. It's a little layered. It's a little complex. I do want to say that moment with the decoy ship, it's one of my favorite things with Vader because he has no facial expression. Anytime he's just standing there watching something happen, you can kind of just apply emotions to him a little bit just because. And, like, every time, like, there's a ship, like, it's just, like, him just sitting there going, damn it. Like, just a little defeated, like, darn it. And I just hear it in my head every time, and it's just, like, it's so funny to me. But, yeah, also about the flashback scene, I appreciate that they didn't completely de-age my boy Hayden Christensen. Like, still a little campy and, like, a little stupid that he looks like he does now. Maybe a little enhanced. Maybe they did something to his face, but not enough to, like, get rid of his crow's feet. And it's just like, yeah, that's clearly, like, 10 years older Hayden Christensen, but we're just gonna let this go. And I love that they just let that be. And, like, I just love it. I love that I got to see him as he is, for the most part, just, like, have this scene. And, like, I don't care. Like, that it's not exactly what he looked like at that point in time. Like, I don't care that he looks like he's 35 or 40 and he's supposed to be like 16. I don't care. It's fine.
It's also
like, got the mullet. The mullet
it's so good. The mullet. Yes. Oh. So good.
It's also like I said, it's also in Vader's head, so you can kind of play it on there. And it's also like I had mentioned that it looked weird. Anakin looked weird, but I think it was the fact that they're on a blue-green screen.
Probably.
And
I think that's what
that
it is.
effect, putting them on that, altered, like, the lighting, made the lighting
probably, because Obi-Wan
weird.
Didn't look 100% right either.
Especially when we first see Obi-Wan there. You look at him and you go, what is going on with your hair?
Well, it's our favorite mullet. It's the best mullet.
But it looks super weird the first time they see him. When they go back to it, he looks fine. It's just that the parting is super weird that first time. Like,
also, first time we've seen Coruscant in a TV show.
Is it?
I believe so.
A live action TV show?
Yeah.
Because obviously.
Well, yeah, Kurt Russell's, first live action. Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess, it would be, because we've only had The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
They haven't been to Coruscant yet.
No.
Interesting.
We've, have we been to Tatooine yet in live action?
You know what? I don't know. I don't recall ever seeing that sand nonsense. I don't know. Not sure about that.
Lucasfilm's just going to buy Tunisia at this point. They're like, you know what? It'll just save us money in the long run if we own this country.
Own this place.
Stop buying permits and buy the country. Just
Where did they film Naboo? Where is that? anyone know?
Lots of different places. I know the
But
castle
the
is
one
in Italy.
side of it.
Is the,
Okay, I'm going to Italy. Yeah, you're right.
The not
Yeah.
castle. The palace. The palace
Yeah.
is in Italy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the
Those
various
fields, the ones.
Yeah. I'm not sure where the various other
Gotta go
places are.
frolic, Anyway, different conversation again. But yeah, I love the flashback. I kind of love that it was like throughout the whole episode, because like when it first like panned away from the flashback, I was like, do not tell me that that's it. Like, do not tell me. And then they kept going back. Like, I got just serotonin throughout the whole episode when a lot of terrible things are happening. To have that, to just be like, by the way, here you go, like little brain gift, when we're losing like our girl Tala, in the most spectacular way. Like,
Yeah, that was rough.
what a death.
That was
Holy
also
crap.
Drop Your Vindication song here, called
That-
that Tala wasn't making it out alive.
Oh, she's right. I'm right. It's the best.
By the way,
It's the best.
I said how my wife is becoming a Star Wars fan. This is how I can tell. My wife's watching that moment. She's like, no, and does it. And then after the explosion, she goes, why'd you hold the detonator up? I'm like, you're becoming a Star Wars fan. There you go.
Yeah.
It's like-
Maximize blast impact. There you go. She could have thrown it, but
That's true. Yeah.
at this point, like, it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
Well,
Cinematics. I guess.
I love that droid, the loader droid,
Such a good
Yeah.
droid.
as he protected her as he
Yeah.
was dying. Oh,
Yeah. Just what a like how they take this droid that is supposed to not be able to communicate or
is
like
dumb. Like they
have
literally
any-
said,
it's just not the brightest, not an emotional droid. If droids, well, we kind of accept that droids have emotions, right, in this world. So like this droid that's just supposed to be function and that's it, still has the capacity to sacrifice himself or itself or themself in some way that is just so beautiful. And I loved it. I loved the just like little subtlety of like, it didn't have to say anything. It still was able to communicate
that's what
its feelings.
Yeah, I caught that on the rewatch a lot. Like you kind of realize what it's doing, but it's just the subtleness of it's literally blocking her. Like, not that she can't fight, but it's blocking the stormtroopers from her, and like entirely the purpose of what it's doing. And it just kind of, as it slumps over, it just kind of does a better job at protecting her. And then
we got a K2SO moment, but with no dialogue. It worked without any dialogue. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really. If I could sum up this one episode, maybe the whole show. I can't say that until I see the last episode, of course. But if there is one word for this and the show so far, but especially this episode, it's finesse. The everything is just done with such care and such finesse and so expertly. And it's kind of ridiculously impressive. It's just everything is so precise and so well done. Deborah Chow is a champion.
She's
the best.
This show is amazing. I said it last week that I had no hesitations about this show. I felt like this show was going in the right track, and I 100% believed it was going to stick the landing. And then everyone watched this last episode and went, this episode was great. It's like, okay, I'm glad everybody else is catching up to where I have been feeling about this show. Like, it's, And
I saw a lot of this episode fixed the show sentiment, and I'm like, no,
this episode was a result.
Yeah,
that frustrated the hell out of me.
I was like, you don't.
Yeah.
It's the crux of it. It's like, this is what we were leading up to. It didn't fix anything. This is what it is.
This is the show. But what you were saying about your wife really enjoying the show, it's a lot of the same reasons that I really enjoy this show. Is it's not a Filoni-verse heavily laden with characters from every which, where The Mandalorian was so inundated that second season with just random characters that they're like, you need to know their backstory. And even if you don't know their backstory, you're kind of getting them thrown at you anyway. There's no extraneous characters in this. Like, there's nobody just randomly thrown in here.
Yeah. Or if they are, it's a nice Easter egg, like in the cell underneath, and you saw that I can't remember his name now. the Jedi from
Ooh.
Clone Wars. You
Yes.
know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
Oh,
he saw
Corrin.
him.
Quinlan.
Yeah, no, not Quinlan.
Not Quinlan.
Who was down in
The one who was in the tomb.
Yeah.
The Jedi Master. We
Oh,
looked up his name last week.
Terra Sanube.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had nice Easter eggs, but nothing
Came
that
back.
was. Yeah, nothing that was vital, and that was the one time I got to do the thing that I've been doing in Mandalorian. My wife was like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Oh, well, that was So, but other than that, yeah, there was nice Easter eggs, but nothing that threw you off plot wise. You didn't have to have all that Filoni-verse.
He was really like we talked about it heavily last week. He was really the only one that I've seen actually from something else. Like you had all these other characters who were just bodies, really. And so he didn't need to be anybody. He had no plot point. He was Han Solo hanging on the wall of Jabba's palace. Like he was like a wall ornament.
Yeah, pretty much. I listen, with the Filoni verse and all of that, it doesn't bother me, but that's because like it's accessible to me. I understand it being like an issue of accessibility. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like this is so much more together and like not isolated, but it kinda. I mean, there's no like breathtaking, starstruck like cameos, except for Wade, of course. Like, my God, what a guy!
He got called up in the recap, and I'm like, yes, Wade.
I was like, what is going on? Like, did they know? Did they know that we would all be like, wait, when like they made this? Like, when did they edit that this week? Like
The recap, yeah. Like what?
like, when did they do that? So I was like, they're gonna do it. Like they're gonna drop that line. And I'm gonna scream, and I did. It was so funny to me. Listen,
Our post on
RIP
Twitter,
Wade.
I wrote hashtag this one's for you, Wade.
Listen, just the funniest crap. I love when Star Wars fans, in a positive way, pick one thing, like Max Rebo. Like
And
we're
just
all
go
just like, that's the
bananas.
guy,
And-
and we just lose our minds over it in the like most wholesome, funny way. That I love. When it's the opposite, and we're just like, people are attacking stuff in a negative way and it's stupid, the like just antithesis of that is what I like about this fandom, that we could just be like, Wade, yes,
And everybody's on board with Wade.
everyone's like, yeah, okay, fine. It's just the stupidest. I love it. But for real though, they're really not there's some like really great actors obviously on this show, but no one that I'm like taken out of the story seeing. And I feel like when you've got like a Cad Bane cameo in Book of Boba Fett, that's all we're talking about.
It's become
That's
the
it.
Cad Bane show, yeah. And
That's
he was
it.
and he was barely in that episode when we
Yeah.
like talked a ton about him.
Well, we know that Boba Fett was hardly in his own show. And
Who?
like I said, exactly. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You should not have a show named a thing and then by the end of it you're like, that was the wrong name for the thing. This is 100% the Obi-Wan show. I don't care who you are or what you have to say about it. Like, this is his show.
Yeah.
100%. You could add a little Vader subtitle here, but like
It's
it's
implied,
unnecessary.
actually. Like,
It is his show. Boba Fett was not that because literally we spent 2 episodes away from him. But like literally there were so many other characters that we were concerned about. It's not his show. This is still, even though we care about what's going on with Reva, we care about what's going on with Vader and Leia and all these people, it's still Obi-Wan at the heart of it. And I think that means that it is functioning a little bit better or a lot of bit better, even though I enjoyed Book of Boba Fett, than Book of Boba Fett did. Yeah. And I think that it's a huge step up, whether you liked Book of Boba Fett or not. You know, it's just objectively better. You know?
Now, I'll tell you one thing that's frustrated me that I've seen some people interpret is Reva's actions. They said, "Oh, she's actually good." I'm like, "Oh, no.
Oh, Lord,
no. She's still dark side. She's purely motivated by revenge. It's still on the dark side. Her goals might have aligned up with Kenobi for a while, but she is still definitely on the dark side.
Yeah,
she wanted to kill Vader. Yeah,
you bring up something really important that I think was so smart, and I hate to always drop the as a writer thing, but as someone who's actually like studied the craft, right? Like I have a degree that's like, hey, she knows how to do this. I'm sorry, but I have to bring it up once in a while. I have a degree, too. I paid for the damn thing. I'm going to talk about it, okay? But this double reveal is really, really smart, because you think you've heard the twist when you know Reva's been going after Vader this whole time, and she's kind of like a former fallen Jedi that is like kind of undercover just to get Vader. Like, she doesn't really care about the Inquisitor situation. She just wants to get Vader, and that's it, right? So we think that's the reveal. That's the reveal. That's your twist for the episode.
That's
it.
A reveal.
Right. But you, like, this is a great, like, little tool to be like, I'm going to reveal this other thing, right? So that when I reveal this bigger thing going on, you're going to be more shocked, because you are subconsciously like, okay, that was the twist. There's another one. And that twist is that Vader knew the whole time. And that is brilliant. That was just such, again, finesse. We love the little, just like, precise movements of this plot and dialogue and everything. It was just stunning to me, because I was like, my guard was down. I was like, okay, I know what this is now. And then all of a sudden he's like, haha, fun fact, I know. And I'm going to take your lightsaber, I'm going to snap it in half, and I'm going to hand you one of them, because this is going to be a fair fight, damn it. Oh. And I loved everything about that scene. And that moment between Reva and Vader was stunning. Just chef's kiss, stunning to me.
And then I love the fight. You know, a lot of times we joke how the first lightsaber fight between Kenobi and Vader in episode 4 looks so bad compared, but this one kind of bridged it in my opinion a little bit, because he's not as acrobatic as what we saw in Clone Wars and all this, but he's just sitting there. I mean, just the way it was choreographed, the way that Deborah Chow like shot it, you know, for half the fight, he's not even using a lightsaber, just toying with her and barely moving to do it in such a powerful way. I mean, it doesn't completely bridge it. The Obi-Wan and Vader lightsaber fight in episode 4 still looks a little ridiculous, but to me, for me at least, maybe just me, it helped bridge that. You know, he's not as acrobatic, but he's just so powerful. Just nope, I'm gonna move you here. No, you can keep trying all your weird fancy moves. I'm just gonna. I mean, just you felt that. You know, he's like, oh, this guy is so powerful. He doesn't need to do any of that.
So I do want to go back to the big reveal of Reva, but since we're talking about the lightsaber fight, I'll focus on that right now. During my rewatch, I watched the second half this morning. I am in amazement of Moses Ingram. She is fully on board with this lightsaber fight. She is throwing it all in there. She's using all of her emotions, but she also needs to stop the lightsaber because Vader force pushes it. So, like, think of it as an actor, you obviously can't fully swing because, like, in the normal lightsaber fights, you have another lightsaber to kind of hit up against, so you kind of use that as your force. She has to fully swing and stop in mid-motion repeatedly. And, she does so good. And then at the end, like, you're right, like, Vader breaks the lightsaber in half and tosses her to the one hand, like, yeah, come on, let's do this. And then I laughed out loud because it is so amazing when he loses the lightsaber, grabs her lightsaber, and then pulls his lightsaber back to him, lighting it in midair, so he has both lightsabers. Like, every time he grabs that lightsaber and pulls it back, I laugh because it's
the most Anakin move.
Yes.
Ever. And I did see someone on Twitter, and I, hate to talk about Twitter, but I thought this was really, really smart.
Oh, and okay. No, smart Twitter's good.
Yeah. It unfortunately spoiled the episode for me because I hadn't seen it yet.
So
I was like really bummed.
I was playing super speed online on Wednesday because I hadn't watched it, but I see Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was fun. I knew the flashback was coming, even though we knew the flashback was coming. I actually knew the flashback was coming.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, all of us at that one scene in Obi-Wan, is he gonna Dooku her? And I was like, that would have been something if he just like did the same beheading thing.
She would have a hard time coming back from.
Yes, correct, exactly. That would have been a lot. But dang. It was just like and I do think, because we love Anakin, he's a dramatic bitch. We know that he kept her alive to reveal the Grand Inquisitor. Like, we know that, right? Like, that's why she's still living. So he could be like, by the way, he's been alive the whole time, and I've just been messing with you.
You were never the Grand Inquisitor, because I have him right here, which I called that he was playing her.
Yeah,
the whole time.
Excellent. Right. We had talked about that.
I knew he was playing her. I obviously didn't realize that he knew she was who she was. He knew that she knew that he was that something.
Right.
Do either of you? I don't. Maybe it's just me. I laugh at this image of the Grand Inquisitor watching, like watching an older brother beat up a younger brother, like sitting there behind a door watching this fight, being like, "Ooh," I don't. Something about that just cracks me up. Like,
it's just like he's been in the shadows just watching, like with popcorn.
Yeah, like,
wow,
that's gotta hurt.
This is rough.
I actually expected about 30% expected him to look more like his Rebels, with the thinner face. Like him coming out, like them explaining why he looks differently.
He looks the way he does.
Yeah, they didn't. But I was kind of expecting that.
But what a scene. And it's funny. I just said like, oh, Obi-Wan's never sidelined or anything, and it's like this scene has nothing to do with him, but also everything to do with him.
Yeah,
it's just such a brilliant. Like obviously Vader is like one of the most iconic villains ever. Like,
I thought you were gonna say psychotic, and I heard
he
iconic,
is
so
also
you kind of
psychotic. He's psychotic. We love that. But there are just a few moments where it's like, for me, really effective. Like, because I grew up knowing who Darth Vader was, so his impact was a little less. You know what I mean? Just for me growing up, like, it just didn't. I was like, yeah, that's the scary guy, and I moved on. Rogue One, that's when he scared the living hell out of me for the first time. And this show is, I'm like, oh, he's scary. Like, he's actually terrifying. There's a third that someone was like, Vader actually being terrifying. And it's this show, Rogue One, and one other bit. And I forgot what it is. But it just, Rebels. And it's just like, yeah, correct. Like, he's actually horrendously terrifying in this show. And I mean, Ewan McGregor said it, like, when he was on set and he turned around and there's Vader, he was like, whoa. Like, he actually got scared. That's awesome. Like, it's just cool to have, as a horror fan, I don't get scared by a lot of stuff very often. Vader is now scaring me, and he 10 years ago never did, not once. So that's kind of cool,
that they're still able to do that.
Yeah, they're still able to keep leveling him up a little bit,
even when you know where he came from and where he's going, and even played on where he came from in this episode, and still that makes him even more scary knowing where he came from.
I've heard Fallen Order's gonna do me even worse. With this, it's gonna just make him even scarier. And I was like, ooh. That makes me excited.
For people in our age group, they're giving Vader, like you said, Nicole, a lot of us, we were so young or not even born. I was single digits still when Empire. So I mean, Empire Strikes Back and Violet Luke, we knew this stuff beforehand. But have you guys? This is a kind of a random connection here. Have you guys seen the TikTok video of a dog watching the New Hope when Vader first shows up? Mm-hmm. And the dog gets freaked out and gets off the couch. The dog's sitting there watching it, just entranced. And Vader comes out of the smoke, and the dog's like, "Oh, I'm out of here," and runs. And that was when people first saw Vader had that. And since then, Vader hasn't had that presence. We know him as this emotionally stunted father who's tried to reconnect, and maybe a little murderous, maybe a little mean, but you have Tarkin, who's truly, psychotic and mean, just more refined about it. But these movies have made Vader scary, or the movies and the scene stuff have made Vader scary again. We saw the whole time we were watching him on a redemption arc, and right now we're getting to see him in the pit of what was he being redeemed from? Oh, good Lord. Revenge of the Sith. Oh, good Lord. Rogue One. Oh, good Lord. Kenobi. You know, we're starting to really
Yeah.
see how dark and how evil he was, and we're getting to have that reaction that Dog had watching the 1st time, be like, oh, here he comes.
I
Yeah.
find it interesting, Nicole, that everything you mentioned that made Vader scary is between episodes 3 and 4.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Because I don't find him scary in A New Hope at all. I don't. I don't know why, but I'm like, yeah,
kind
he's
of-
formidable. He's formidable and powerful,
is,
but I'm not scared of him.
But
I don't
they
know
also
what that is.
made him almost the lackey to Tarkin in A New Hope.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct. And even in Empire, I was like, he's just using other people. And I don't know if it's just, I don't know. I feel like obviously if I were to be there in real life, standing in front of that tall man, I'd be mortified, obviously. But it's just not,
The moment
it
that
doesn't
scared
do the
me,
thing.
was it episode 3 or 4 or chapter 3 or 4 of this series? The one where he's storming down the hallway. That's where I was like, oh no. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
he's rough.
yeah, and I mean, as a kid. I mean, I'm in my early 40s, so as a kid, I vaguely remember being a little bit freaked out when he force choked people. But I wonder what it would be like watching this as a kid now, and seeing him storming down the hallway with that type of speed.
Well, he did that in this episode. He was towards his confrontation with Reva. He's walking down the hall, and he does the move that everybody does when they come to the sensor doors.
Grocery store.
Yeah.
I laughed. I'm like, he's at the grocery store.
Did you know that Ewan said that he does that once in a while?
Oh,
Like,
I would die seeing that
I
if I
laughed
saw Ewan
very
McGregor at
Ewan
Kroger.
Also got in trouble for doing the lightsaber noises when he was on episode 1. So
Anakin got in trouble on episode 2 doing that.
Yeah,
Or
they just
Hayden
kept-
Christensen, sorry.
yeah. They just kept doing, because how do you not do lightsaber noises? Like,
Zoom, zoom.
zoom, zoom. Ah,
All right.
so good.
But I want to talk about Reva's quote unquote turn.
Yes.
And I found it weird that the first time she interacts with Obi-Wan through the door, she kind of like lays out her hand. Like, I'm really just using you to basically, I want you to kill Vader. That's like what it seems to me is what she's doing, is she's bringing Obi-Wan to Vader so that Obi-Wan can kill Vader. And Obi-Wan's like, ha, I'm bringing Vader to you. So yeah, this is not going to end well for you. I don't see that, but
Right.
Well, and he provoked her to that reaction. You know, he's sitting there talking. He's like, "That's how you do." And she's freaking out, like, "Shut the hell up!" You know, I mean,
Yeah.
he provoked her into that.
And I think it's because he knows Anakin so well that I think he understands her. Because again, they are very similar. Anakin and Reva are very, very similar. So if Obi-Wan knows how to get to Anakin, Obi-Wan knows how to get to Reva. And I think he figures that out, and that's how he gets like her plan out of her. Because he knows he's used to dealing with someone like this. The same personality type. The Jedi gone dark, you know? Like he knows how to play on that kind of fear and anger and thirst for revenge. So that's how he kind of gets Reva's entire plan out of her very easily.
well, I found it interesting when you said that Reva is very much like Anakin, and when you look at her outfit
Oh, yeah.
looks like a Disney bounded Vader. Like it's
Yes,
like
100%.
I'm like you look at, and she even has the red lights on her her waist just off to the side, and I'm like, she looks like she's imitating Vader, which is interesting when you think of where she's coming at, that she desperately wants Vader dead, but she knows she can't do it. She also has the worst timing on the freaking planet.
Oh, she's bad at timing, yeah.
She's like, well, now is my chance to take Vader down, when he's clearly just standing there not doing anything else. Like, no.
And then she announces herself. I'm like, girl,
10 seconds earlier would have been a
sweetie.
better timing.
you were so close. And then she just like amps herself up and like announces that she's there. And I'm like, you needed to be so much stealthier than that. And you know it. She knows it. I know it. Like, she knows she's goofed. But like,
And
it
she
was
has to double
I was
down.
so upset. I was so upset. I was like, keep your mouth shut for 3 seconds and you had a shot. But of course she didn't, because he knew she was there the whole time. But I still, like, that's one of my, like, human pet peeves. Like, I fully understand that as a human you're gonna announce yourself, like, you're gonna, like, there's so much built up just like adrenaline that, like, you're gonna give yourself
She
away.
has 10 years
We're
of
not
hate that
assassins,
she's letting out.
you know. Yeah, so, but it just drives me nuts, because that's like a trope. That's a trope in, like, everything is like, you were this close to actually being stealthy and you're not, you just goofed it, like.
So
Oops.
one thing I've seen that made me frustrated is I've seen a couple people say, why did she just cut through the door beforehand? I was like, you guys do realize that E-Web put a major dent. Like, that E-Web loosened it quite a bit, because I saw a few people, I even read a review from a Star Wars site saying it was so dumb. She could have just cut through the door. Why'd they have shooting it? I'm like, did you not see it glowing and, like, disintegrating? As that E-Web thing was. That's just some people were criticizing that. I got grumpy.
Yeah. It just, again, basic media literacy. Like, the thing is taking you on the journey. Just go, like, take it in. Everything means something, whatever. But yeah, it just, like, there are so many. I feel like there's no way to talk about all of the, like, phenomenal scenes we got in this episode without talking about it for 3 hours. Like, it's just so good. It's so good. It's so well acted. Like, everyone's knocking it out of the park. We haven't even talked about the work Ewan's been doing on this episode. Like, he emotionally killing it. Like, the way he cares so deeply for Leia and, like, is immediately like, where's she at? Like, where is she? Like, what's going on here? Like, he's just doing great work. They all are. I'm happy we talked about Moses, because that's really, you know, she's carrying it.
She's
is.
And like, the way, you remember how I mentioned that her voice felt modulated? It felt something weird.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
She did not feel that way, actually. So I think they may have modulated her voice when she was in full dark side mode, but when she's in vulnerable state here, where she's actually like, literally, like, laying out, like, stop bringing up my past, you a-hole.
You dick waffle.
Yeah. like it stops being modulated, and she drops her tones, like, so much. She's kind of whispering to him, like it's really beautiful to see, like, especially they're not even in the same room and they're having conversation through the door, and he's like, wait a second. You remember that plot point a couple episodes back that everybody else remembers, but nobody could make sense of, and people were complaining because the internet about how you knew Anakin's name? That doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't have known Anakin's name. Oh, wait. You were in that flashback at the beginning of the first episode.
Which we called. Yeah.
So that's
if that wasn't on your bingo card, you know.
Also,
it's just great.
One thing, Nicole, you said about, like, Obi-Wan, the way he is with Leia. I loved that moment where, you know, she wanted to climb, but she said, "I'll need a ladder," and they tried to say no, and he said, "No, listen to what she says."
O'Shea Jackson said no, which I really don't remember his name. Like Roke or something.
Roken. Hang on,
yeah.
I had it.
Roku.
Roken.
Yes. I believe that's exactly right, but I'm just Roken. Yes.
Yeah.
R-O-K-E-N, Roken.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the one, because he was also the one that's like, yeah, we can't go get her. Okay, we'll go get her.
Yeah, right. No, she's not getting a ladder. Okay, I'll get her a ladder.
Obi-Wan says, "Oh, you will, so I'll get you a ladder."
I mean, that was a big.
guess.
That was a big. I mean, he's showing and he's giving her trust, because that was putting herself in danger. But you know, he's that bond between them. He's showing, like, I trust you. You know, and he knows who she is. She doesn't understand her lineage, but he does. You know, but he trusts her to do this. You know, I mean, she was before, he was like, you know, nope, just listen to me, stay back. You know, and she's doing the typical kid thing, asking a million questions. But now he's actually putting some trust in her as someone with some agency. It's like, yes, I trust you to be able to do this. So I like that a lot.
I need him to come back in Andor.
Ooh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think he'd be great in Andor.
Oh, yeah.
But to just kind of get us to a wrapping up place. I did not think we were gonna see our boy Bail Organa, leave his wife for Owen Lars, but that's interesting that he's just like, I'm a dip because like Owen's gonna need help with the boy, and I was like, okay, that's a choice, Bail.
Also, you have successfully, in the future at least, organized a galactic rebellion. And here you're dropping your biggest hopes and dreams on an unsecured communication. You dropped Tatooine, you dropped Owen. Like, yeah, like there's a couple people that out there you don't want this. If Vader, Owen on Tatooine, Vader's sitting there, Owen on Tatooine. Who could that be?
And we know Reva knows who he is because of their confrontation in episode 1. So we know that he knows that she knows and she knows that he's hiding a Jedi of some kind. Like, she suspected that. Goofed. Absolutely goofed. Bail Organa is a very smart man. I love Bail Organa. I'd go to war for Bail Organa, no problem. I would join that rebellion in 2 seconds because I believe in that man. This was a goof. This was a goof beyond goof. Like, you know better. You know better.
Yeah, that's
Bail? Like, what the heck? But I also, as,
story.
His emotions are so messed up probably at this point. The kid that he's had for 10 years is who knows where.
Gone. And he doesn't know.
And he's, I get it. I get that he is primed to make a mistake like that right now. It's believable. It's still like, come on, Bail. Like, it's just, buddy. Like, and I don't know that Owen would have you, so.
It's like one of those times that you want to send a text message, but then you're like, no, that's dumb. But as time goes on, you're like, I gotta no, that's dumb. No. And then you send it, and immediately after you send it, you go, oh my God, why did I do that?
Yeah, like, can I unsend, which apparently is a thing now, but like, can I unsend the email, please? Like, can I recall it now? And then of course Reva sees it. Like, of course Reva sees it. That's why she's still living.
She sees parts of the damaged recording. She sees
enough.
Tatooine, Owen. I'm like, you see the 2 words that are the most damning.
It's like, well, that's a shame, isn't it? Like, that's just a big shame all around. And I'm interested to see how the secret gets kept with this. Like, we know it will be but I'm interested to see if she dies before she can tell anyone, if like maybe Obi-Wan is forced to kill her. That's my prediction, is she reveals that she knows to him before anybody else. Like, she goes to Tatooine, Obi-Wan beats her there, something. There's a confrontation there on Tatooine that Luke obviously is not involved in. Leia is obviously not involved in because they can't know each other. And Obi-Wan is forced to kill Reva because she knows this thing. And I wonder if that's like another breaking point for him. Because obviously he's not going to have a happy ending.
No.
That's not this kind of show. So I that's my little baby prediction. Yeah, maybe that's what they do. I don't know.
We also know he's delayed at this point.
Right.
From like his intent was to drop off Leia. He is delayed because the hyperdrive is out, and that's the last we see of him. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who gets where, because Reva, she's got like a cold or something. I don't know. She's dead. She's
mildly inconvenienced.
Mildly inconvenienced. That's what I'm going to put on my my outages for work. Why weren't you in? I was mildly inconvenienced.
We also have to see how Owen accepts that toy, because that toy shows up in A New Hope. So
yeah, eventually we need that little baby string tied
up. Little Starfighter toy.
Yes.
Same one Luke was playing with in A New Hope.
Yep.
I feel like that string never needs to be tied up, and I won't care.
I would like it to.
Well,
it would be a nice little bow on top of the present.
Yeah.
Because we know it gets to him eventually. I would like that. I would like that to kind of come full circle. It doesn't have to, but I
Obi-Wan
would be
throws
shocked
it
if
down
did.
on the ground. I made you something, kid.
Here you go,
Well,
kid.
okay, and here's the thing: the reason, I mean, yes, it seems like a pedantic detail, but for me, it would be, where does Owen finally accept some part of Obi-Wan being in Luke's life from a distance?
Yeah.
You mean the guy who died many years ago?
Well, okay,
Oh,
but you know what I'm saying. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Because old Ben is around.
yeah,
Obi-Wan died sometime around the same time as your father.
Yes. Yeah. But Ben is a different guy, so
We all know that.
anyway.
All right.
Interested to see how they wrap it up. It's gonna be good. I have no doubt at this point. They haven't disappointed me yet, so it would be a real misstep.
It'd be
and
a
I
real
believe in Deborah
whiplash.
Chow.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in everyone involved. I believe in the fact that they took this show and completely rewrote it at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy they did that because this is great. So, I'm excited.
I like that Ewan. I think they rewrote it even before Deborah Chow was on the show. Like
Correct.
and Ewan took ownership of the character. Like he
Yes.
is the one, as far as I'm aware, that said the script was a no and needs to get
Yes.
fixed.
Correct. I think you're exactly right. Does he have a producer credit?
He's
He might.
executive producer on the show.
Yeah.
yes.
Also-
that's what I thought.
I don't care what, they say, the Star Wars team says Hollywood Reporter is never wrong. I think one of the original things that they were going to try to shoehorn Darth Maul into this. I think that's one of the things that got
I wouldn't
cut.
be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they thought about it and then were like, that doesn't need to happen because of Rebels. And, I was of the opinion that I would like to see him in the show. And then I saw the Rebels episode and I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
That doesn't need to be touched. That's perfect. And I am sure that was part of the decision to leave him out. But no, I would not be shocked if they thought about it or like even if he was in the original script.
I'll go for I think he was a big part of the reason they rewrote. That's my
I'm sure
that's my
it was.
conspiracy theory right there. That's my
I think you're right. I think you're probably right. I think that they thought that was a good idea and then someone was like, wait a second. Wait a minute. Like we already have this perfect arc over here. No,
Well, you just needed someone to look at, because basically probably what they're going is like, based on the dialogue in A New Hope, we can't do this. We can't have Obi-Wan and Vader confrontate. And then somebody kind of reread the lines and went, actually, there's wiggle room in this.
And someone also said this online. I was like, this is great, and I'm going to steal it. I'm sorry. And I've been saying, like, unfortunately, being on dating apps and having Star Wars anywhere in my profile, all I get is, oh my God, like, isn't Obi-Wan garbage? Da, 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 da. That's all I'm getting right now. And I'm like, no. It's
Wait,
not.
swipe
and, like,
left,
I've gotten
or I think
so many.
No, I don't know.
Like, I would match with someone, and this is their opening. And it's like, I think Obi-Wan's breaking canon is an opening line I'm getting a lot. And I'm like, it's not, and here's why. And then I write a paragraph and unmatch them.
It's just copy and paste.
that's where you got to put it. You got to put it in notes. So you can just copy paste.
Yes.
And then,
But my go-to response is, you realize he never finishes the line, I sense a presence I haven't felt since. And that opened the entire door. And once you did that, and it's like Vader being a dramatic bitch, as I've called him many times, because he's like that, we get this show. Because he won't finish his sentence in that moment, he's like, I'm gonna walk away and throw my cape. Like, because he does that, we get this show.
You just picture
And
Tarkin.
I love
Since
that.
when? Since when?
Since
Finish
when?
this sentence.
Finish that sentence. But
And,
because he doesn't, we get this show. So it's great.
yeah, and people try to get mad about like Leia. They're like, well, how would they have known? And I'm like, do you guys remember that they never came in contact on the Death Star once?
That
Yeah.
and when Luke, so she reaches out to Obi-Wan Kenobi
Which, how would she know his name? Like, people don't think,
Well,
that's
from
yeah.
Dad.
But I'm
But
saying,
this,
like-
this adds weight to that. And then when Luke says, I'm here with Ben Kenobi, she A, knows who that is, and B, gets very excited. She's like, Ben Kenobi! Like, she's amped.
That's the part, if you listen to these episodes, in the intro to this show, I end with, Ben Kenobi? And, like, she gets so excited. And that's why I'm like...
She's so excited.
Also...
It adds so much weight to those moments.
Yeah.
Which is unintentional and retcon. Well, it's probably intentional, but it's retconning. But I love it. I love that it fits.
And when they say, well, she didn't mention, why wouldn't you mention? It's like, you guys do realize at the time she sent the help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope, the Galactic Senate still existed. It was still a diplomatic conflict, not a narrative conflict. It was a narrative conflict. You know what I mean? There was still all this politics involved. And of course, she's sending a transmission that she knows could be intercepted, seen by anybody. And it's a very, you've served my father in the Clone Wars. You're trying, she's not going to say.
That's public record.
Yeah, she's not going to sit there and say, you went on a secret mission and you're a Jedi who did, as when you were a Jedi and saved me from the Emperor's enforcer. She's not going to say that.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah.
Like, they know. Like, both parties in this conversation know that that's there. She's using what we call in the business discretion.
Yeah. I will quote Nicole, media literacy.
Yay!
This show has actually, this show has also fixed the problem I've had with the sequel trilogy since day one of the sequel trilogy.
Ooh. Go on.
The fact that Han and Leia named their son Ben.
Made
no sense. Leia, up until this point, Leia had never met Ben. Han knew Ben for literally 2 hours, if that, and he made fun of him in the middle of it. Why are you naming your son Ben? Now you have...
It makes sense.
You named your son after the guy who rescued you from kidnappers twice, risked his life to save you. Now you had fixed that problem that I've always had because it didn't make sense before.
Yeah, I agree. It's, like in previous canon, Ben was the one who Obi-Wan is the one who sent everyone on this mission where without it, we wouldn't have been successful against the Empire. Han and Leia never would have met. You have all these reasons, but they're not reasons. They're not really enough.
Yeah,
to name your child.
Anybody who is a parent knows that the name of your child is an important thing. Anybody who's a person, your name is an important thing. Where did your name come from? It could be just something, but in Star Wars, you need to have a reason when you name it after somebody else.
Right.
Like my wife shot down.
It definitely helps.
My wife, when we were wondering who our baby was a girl, my wife shot down Eleanor Ripley Nafpliotis. And I was like, why? Please. But it's a boy, so now I have to figure something else out. But but you're right. I mean, name's important. Who you're going to name your child, it's got to have some sort of resonance to you. And you're exactly right. That's makes a whole lot more sense now.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good. Excited to see what episode part 6 brings. Very bold. Very bold. Part 6.
We don't know for sure. Just hesitating on that. That's a conjecture at this point.
Watch them surprise us all and name it something. Watch them just ruin the bit.
I'd be so down if they tried to ruin the bit. That'd be hilarious. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Anything else?
Now let's wrap it.
We've talked about this episode twice the length of the episode.
For real.
All right.
Happened.
Lot happened.
All right. You can reach us through email, talkintauntauns@AIPTcomics.com. You can find us on Twitter @Talkin Tauntauns. You can join us on Discord through our Patreon from AIPTcomics.com. You can leave us a 5-star review through all of your social media or podcast platforms if that you would so choose. That would super help us a lot. You could leave us a review. I love reviews. If it's a good review, I'll even read it on the air. If it's not a good review, I'll probably seethe about it later in my room.
Yeah, if it's a bad review, please just keep it to yourself. Thanks.
And again, if you're leaving a bad review, why are you even listening to us? But
why are you here?
Yeah.
Why'd you get this far?
But if you love us...
Hate listening.
Yeah. It's a thing, I think, actually.
I guess it is, yeah.
So, with that, we will see you next week with the finale of Obi-Wan, titled Part 6.